I can continue to tell the world to go fuck itself.
So you want
after I'm gone.
You want to live the whole Futurama thing.
I do, and I want to be that miserable too. Kind of just reflect like my existence on this mortal coil. Like I want to be that miserable all the time. Just kind of keep it going, you know.
You're so miserable.
The saga continues.
You're so miserable that I made custom coasters,
I don't even use
and
them.
you still no. You not only does he not use them, but he puts his fucking open drink next to the soundboard. Now maybe it's my fault for having the soundboard right on the desk, but hey, what a shithead!
My bad, fam. My bad.
I'm gonna open my Faygo.
I don't think you're allowed to say that word anymore.
Oh, you can't say anything anymore. Speaking of which, this is more of a Charlie thing, but you brought that up. You see, a lot of places are now banning "Let's Go Brandon." That's the same reaction I had.
I got to be honest, I didn't even know what that really was until this week. I was this week.
Really?
I had to have that explained to me because I don't really pay attention to this stuff anymore.
Well, I don't pay attention to racing.
Yeah, I guess that's where it originated from.
Yeah. And the whole did you see the video now that you've learned where it's from?
Yeah. Well,
how obvious?
I knew it was a euphemism the whole time. Like I understood that.
But where it came from?
Where it originated from, I had to ask my buddy at work, and he explained it to me, and it's pretty comical.
Did you watch the video though?
I don't know. I'm not.
It's if you watch a video,
like the entire audience,
it's as clear as day.
Yeah.
There's no way you can mess it up.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
A lot of people are like, you gotta like, I don't want to say give credit, but the reporter was doing her job. Like
she was trying to like spin it. Yeah,
but then
I gotta watch it just to see that, just to see the reporter's discomfort.
It's not even the reporter's discomfort. It's the whoever won that race, that young kid, whatever. He's like
Yeah, because he knows. Like,
he's in a weird spot.
It's also kind of shitty though, because like, come on, let the guy have his flowers. Like, let him celebrate his win.
But the whole crowd is just chanting it, and then it's
just like kind of a microcosm of what we become.
They're chanting "Let's go, Brandon." I'm like, what?
You know what I mean? Though it's like a microcosm of what we've all become, like divisive, one-sided,
Oh,
simple-minded, and that's anybody's
That's not
side.
become. We've always been
True.
that way. It's just in the last year and a half.
It's just unfortunate to me because whatever side you subscribe to is just so
and that's what it is.
Ignorant to that subscription that they're unwilling to mend in the middle, and that's why I just kind of gave up on all that. And now, whenever I come to do the podcast, it's all about good stuff.
It's lighthearted, yeah. It's
like fun stuff, you know, cool stuff.
Things that I actually get excited for.
Stuff that like don't stress me out.
It's a different excitement. Like I read the news, I'm excited. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I want to come here to relieve stress, not have you pour your stress all over my stomach.
One more point on that. You know, I got to put it somewhere. One more point on that. I found a news app, but what it does, it's called Ground News, and it gives you a story, and then underneath that it gives you different news facets, and that has 3 bars. One is blue, one is gray, and one is red, and it's all the Reds spin on the story, the Republicans, the Democrats spin on the story, and then Sky News and BBC and all these neutral, usually foreign. And I'm like, I think it's fantastic because then you can get one story, how each one's spinning it, read through it, and be like, all right, well, they're leaving this out.
And then you can find out like kind of what the reality is by looking at, BBC.
I listen to a lot of BBC and Sky News anyway, just for the reason they're very not biased.
They'll actually tell it from their perspective because they have no dog in the race, so to speak.
Kind of like Russell Brand.
Yeah, he's an interesting son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I
like
love
him.
listening to Russell Brand.
Him. I find him very interesting. Smart as hell too. Funny as hell too.
He's funny, and in the last show, that's where I got one of the articles we were talking about, or one of the talking points was animatronic nurses, the robot nurses.
Yeah, I saw. I was looking into some of that.
That's where I heard it. He was reporting on it, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, did you see them? Did you see the nurses?
Me, no.
They're eerily lifelike. When they move and talk, it's very robotic. But just looking at them, if you looked at them from a distance, like 100 yards, you'd think it was a person.
What can we do with these nurses?
Sex bots. You know what's going to that.
Yeah.
There's a huge market there, and they will do it.
A lot of people will invest.
Yeah, they're going to have sex with microwaves.
We should start investing
Beer
in
trucks and
stock.
sex bots.
There you go. Beer trucks and
Or
sex
beer
bots.
trailers. That's what it was. Beer trailers and sex bots.
From the one episode.
All right. One other point. The Colin Kaepernick and the NFL.
I've been seeing a lot of that pop back up again. I haven't paid any attention to the show. I guess he evidently has like a show.
Yeah, he's a
Netflix.
docuseries, which I didn't know about until I found this whole thing out.
I mean, it's interesting, I guess, but it's just not for me.
Did you see he's comparing the NFL Combine to
it's
buying slaves?
It's a weird hill to die on at this point. I mean, I think I think the idealism that was represented in the beginning of all of this, the kneeling and all of that, I'm all for that personally. However, I feel like he was drastically the wrong person for the job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If it's going to be somebody, it should not have been him.
Right.
And then he showed himself true as time
because
progressed and showing more about the markets and his money, his sneakers, and all this other stuff.
When all that started is when he was already knocked down to second string.
Yeah.
Was already reasonably forgotten about as a 49er fan. Like he was like, all right, he's Blaine Gabbert took his spot.
I think it was Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguars he played for too, right? Isn't that who drafted Gabbert?
I think so.
We gotta do a sports cast one day.
Oh God, I've been honestly, aside from UFC and baseball, I've been out of sports for a good 3 years.
Go Braves. Speaking of which,
yeah,
the good guys won.
Finally.
Yeah. And God, it wasn't the Astros. Anybody but the Astros.
It was because I thought Boston was gonna go at least at ALC.
Honestly, I would have been all right if Boston beat the Astros. And I hate saying that as a Yankees fan.
Yeah, when I was watching the single game playoff and Boston won, and then I'm like, well, they're gonna get creamed by Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
and that didn't happen.
They didn't.
It was very much the opposite.
Makes you wonder how well the Yankees could. Well, probably not. We can't hit.
No,
can't pitch.
Because we had that 3 or 4 game set against Tampa the week before the playoffs
and got crushed.
Yeah, we had one game we barely won. So yeah, and then Boston and Houston.
I'm just glad the Braves won.
Like as a Yankee fan, you're supposed to hate Boston.
You're supposed to, but yet how can you not hate the cheaters?
But then there's Houston.
Yeah.
So that was just
Houston has become my most maligned as of right now.
Because I play for the fucking Yankees.
You did. You're the center fielder.
Yeah. The Yankees probably could have won that year.
Yeah. No, they were up 3-2 in 2017, and they were dominating. Then they went back to Houston. Well, I shouldn't say dominating, but they were going back to Houston up 3-2.
Yeah.
And then they got knocked out in 19 again as well, right? If memory serves me, or was that Boston?
19. I think 19 was Boston.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well. So.
Oh, maybe not. No, I think that was Houston again in 19.
But at least
Boston won it all in 19, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah. We haven't made an ALCS. I play for them.
That drives me nuts, but I still do it.
I took a whole class on that, or wrote a whole dissertation on the we-they theory.
Oh, yeah?
Like believing that you are a part of something so strongly that you say we.
I know some people are like, well, we're the fan base. And we.
Sociologist.
But I hear it all the time. And all I can think of is like, do you have a contract with...
Yeah, right.
Are you being paid?
But why be patronizing? Like, everyone knows it. Everyone does it. Who cares?
It's
you
true.
know what? Fuck you. I hit 50 home runs one year for the Yankees.
Yeah, I got 51 the same year.
Well,
and I batted in front of you. I mean, behind you.
You can bat behind me anytime, baby.
That's right. All right. Anyway, wrestling.
as we move on. Let's talk about wrestling.
That's a good segue into wrestling.
Let's talk about the big news is just recently, yesterday. Several. And I've got a list here. Several.
It was like 15 or 20.
Excuse me.
I remember there was 3 or 4 names that really stuck out.
Keith Lee was mine, but you want to just go down the list of the names?
Yeah, go down.
All right. A couple of them we'll probably skip right over. You won't even know half of these names.
I didn't. The mass release. This is the 3rd mass release they've had?
Yeah.
Not the biggest
we've
one.
said this before. This has to have something to do with a sale.
I would think so.
It's a fire sale.
I would think so.
Right? You
because
offload your assets.
whoever picks them up, especially with Bray Wyatt,
you're not going to have all these contracts.
Yeah. You're going to have a lot of you have a lot of money to play with if you want to go out and sign whoever you want.
So on this particular list, the first person is B-Fab of Hit Row.
I don't even know who that is. A lot of people are talking about him.
I'm familiar with Hit Row. It was kind of on NXT. Well, no, it is on NXT, but it was like a Death Row type of gimmick, I guess you can say.
Right.
Did you watch the Hidden Treasure show that came out where they were going around with legends trying to recover
yes.
artifacts?
Yeah.
So you remember the guy that was kind of palling around with all the legends? AJ, was that his name or something?
I don't know
like
his
that?
name. I know who you're talking about.
So he was kind of like the Suge Knight of the Hit Row group.
Right.
This B-Fab was the female. But we're kind of like so removed from this. We're not going to know half these names. You do know Ember Moon.
Yeah. She wasn't doing much, was she?
No, but she was good in NXT.
She was good.
Ago.
Yeah. That was 2016.
This big one, Eva Marie. Eva
Marie. Yeah, Eva Marie.
What a waste of a contract.
Yeah. Well, you could make that argument for a few of them in there.
Frankie Monet, which I think that's a big loss to them. They didn't use her enough. That's Valkyrie. That's
all right. Yeah.
Johnny Mundo.
Mundo, yeah.
It's his wife.
Yeah.
Grand Metalik. He was one of the.
I actually liked in the Cruiserweight Classic there.
He was a stand-up.
That's the first time I saw him. Like, wow, this guy's great.
Here's a name that neither of us did not know he's even on the rosters at all.
There's probably 3 or 4.
Harry Smith.
That was the last one on the list, wasn't it?
I was like, what?
He
was back?
I went down the list, and then the last name, you see all these wrestlers' names, and the last one says Harry Smith. Like, was he a ring crew? Like, did he put the...
Why didn't... And if they had him back, why didn't they use him?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, he's got a great legacy. Yeah. Right? I mean, like his dad and everything.
Yeah, seriously. He married Pocahontas and everything.
I don't know who... What?
Wait, that's not Every Smith?
That's not the same one.
Oh, whatever.
Do you know who Jeet Rama is? Because I have no idea.
No.
Moving on.
I can't even pretend.
Do you know who Jesse Kamea is?
Nope.
I think I've heard the name on other podcasts.
Ventura.
But no clue.
It's the only popular Jesse.
Here's a huge name. Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
That was a surprising one.
That was a surprise.
That was
a first surprise.
Much like any other NXT guy, they fumbled his debut to the main roster.
Oh, wow.
Had him lose to Jeff Hardy the first match. I was like, wait, what?
Learn, kid.
You gonna learn today, roll up.
This is the big leagues roll up, yeah.
Katrina Cortez, don't know.
Nah, that one the name sounds familiar, but
this name we both know, and this was the biggest loss in my opinion because they've fumbled this guy since his debut, and they jerked him around all year. Keith Lee.
Yeah,
Keith
I remember when he signed with the NXT or WWE. The whole indie circuit was pumped. It's like this guy's getting
he fits
his
everything
break.
You think they'd want.
Yeah,
like he's a giant. He's athletic. He's charismatic.
Yeah,
I mean the crowd love him.
Like,
they do that whole whoop whoop. You know that whole.
Yep.
I couldn't believe how badly they screwed him.
The
up.
indie circuit was pumped that he was signed. It's like he's going to get his break now,
and he deserved it. Well, he was great in NXT.
His NXT run, the original NXT.
He was the only one to hold both belts, right? Ever, the North American and the championship. So that one really kind of disappointed me because I actually really am a big fan of his. Lince Dorado, another luchador. I think he was also in that classic. Excuse me, a little coffee today.
I had coffee.
It's not COVID. I got tested twice this week.
COVID coffee.
Mia Yim, I know her.
Coffee Kingston.
Is actually... I hate you.
Anyway.
Mia Yim is actually Keith Lee's wife.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
They just didn't like them.
Big one, Nia Jax. And I didn't mean that in a funny way.
I did. I'm going to go out on record. That one, though, is probably... That might have been the one release in that whole list where the powers that be looked at it and went, you're a liability.
You know, it's funny, though, because I was shocked by that one because of her being protected by, The Rock and all of that. But enough was enough, I think. Remember when she was beating the shit out of Charlotte on TV when she was giving her the potatoes? Just, like, slapping her up.
Yeah.
That was only a few months ago.
Yeah.
Oni Lorcan, I'm only slightly familiar with. If I'm not mistaken, he was a part of Imperium.
I don't know.
That's the one, Walter.
All right.
Absolute monster. He could be a big star. Scarlett Bordeaux. You know, it's almost as if they should have brought Scarlett and Karrion Kross up together with the same gimmick.
Well,
I don't know who Trey Baxter is, do you?
no.
And last name, I'll probably butcher the name. Zadiah Ramier?
I
No
don't
idea.
know.
So those are your names that just happened.
Most of those, maybe they were something. I don't know. Like, I don't really watch NXT. I don't watch wrestling at all, really.
I actually
But
watched Wednesday night, the AEW show.
Dynamite.
Briefly.
Was it Dynamite? I think that's
I will say things about that real quick, because I'm sure you heard the Moxley news.
Right, yeah. That I did
Good on
hear.
him. Good on him.
Right.
Acknowledging it and getting himself into rehab. Good for him.
Yeah.
They were complete, because one thing AEW does right is respect their wrestlers. And everybody was kind of commenting on it. Punk, as much as I've hated him in the past,
He was super supportive.
is he still not the best promo in the business? Christ, he has people, and he talked about that, and it was a special promo.
Right.
A lot of good promos on that show. MJF, but his was all heel, so that was great. And that had nothing to do with Moxley. But then Brian said something about it at the end. Good shit.
Yeah. He, for a while, I didn't know. I just figured Moxley took time off.
Yeah.
Because of just being burnt out. Because
Well, he was wrestling, though.
nobody was reporting of why he took time off.
Right, recently. But he was wrestling like all of the like Japanese legends. Like that was kind of his gimmick most recently.
Right. It's kind of a spin on Randy Orton back in the late 2000s.
Yeah, right. Only we're doing it with not
Japanese
household names.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a while. Then I think I saw it on Facebook. Someone commented something about crack. I'm like, wait, that's why he took that?
No, it was booze.
Was it?
It's a drinking problem.
Oh, all right. That makes all right because
inpatient like drinking rehab. That's what the reports have come out at.
I heard crack. I'm like, how do you hide that?
I mean, he'd be all strung out. He's not strung out. You know, if anything, he's heavier than he's ever been too.
Yeah,
like he was like a rail thin when he came in as Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, and then he then
nice put on size.
He left, and when he came back before he left WWE, he actually put on some tone. He toned up, put on some muscle mass. I was like, wow, he shaved his head. And like,
he was sick of being called Titty Master.
I was like, this guy's awesome.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, was it Big E? Didn't Big E give him... I
think so.
I think it was... Yeah. I think Big E's the one that gave him that name.
That's terrific. So that's crazy. I really think that it has to have something to do with the sale. But they're not talking about yet. But you gotta imagine.
They're not going to.
And Triple H has been out, as you know. If you've heard about that. He's had, call it, a cardiac event.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been back since, right? He's coming back and he's going to go, Vince, what the fuck, dude? You got rid of my entire roster.
Yeah.
And changed NXT to some kid show.
It looks like an early 90s mural down in the inner city somewhere where it's just paint everywhere.
I mean, it would be fantastic on the side of a building.
Yeah.
But for a wrestling show, no thank you.
Especially when you go from what it was to what... It wasn't a slow transition. It was like, and different.
It was like the best actual pure wrestling show on TV.
Right.
No funny ha-ha, no nonsense.
Right.
Actual talented wrestling that made sense. And even AEW sometimes is just too much for me. They don't sell. They're too fast. They don't tell a story. NXT had it all. I mean, it wasn't like the best, promos and the best storytelling, but in-ringing the storytelling was fantastic. And then one day, Rainbow.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, actually, no, I don't even hate to say it, but
just say it.
I miss WCW.
Right.
Like, legit. And this is coming from someone who was so anti-WCW back in the day.
Until it really did get our attention.
Well, by the time it got my attention, it was 99-ish.
Oh, so it was already phasing out for you.
It was... I knew about it, obviously. Yeah. You see wrestlers go and come and whatnot, but I didn't pay any attention to it. It wasn't until late 99, 2000, and really... when Goldberg was losing the title, and then I heard about them putting the strap on, what's his name?
Hulk Hogan.
Nope. It's always on Hogan. But, David Arquette.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that's even as a WWF fan back then. I heard they put the strap on David Arquette. I'm like,
why?
wait,
You know?
yeah, but what?
Yeah.
I didn't understand that one.
No. I was lucky in a sense that I knew about and I watched a little bit of WCW. I had friends on my block in the block over in Fords, New Jersey, where I was growing up. Shout out Woodbridge Township. Who watched WCW. And and I was always a WWF guy, you know, and that piqued my interest that I could watch. And you know, I liked guys like Sting, but and then when Hogan went over there, of course, I started paying attention. That's probably when I started really paying attention to, even when he was still red and yellow, because it was kind of a big deal, and you didn't know that Hogan was a total piece of shit.
I didn't know anything about WCW until Hogan went to WCW.
And what a segue! What a segue. Speaking of Hulk Hogan.
That wasn't even meant to be a segue,
but it was a perfect one. What a segue!
I knew nothing.
That's called chemistry.
Something
Charlie would never understand.
His chemistry involves anyway.
His chemistry has to do with Breaking Bad. And that's for any shot he took at me. Fuck Charlie. Love you, Charlie.
I love my show.
All these thinly veiled shots at each other. Rich, you literally said "fuck Charlie," not that thinly veiled.
Yeah. I was thinking anyway.
You think this is bad? You see the podcast chat.
Oh, jeez.
That won't be mentioned here.
It gets fun. It gets fun for me to watch.
I'm the rational one.
Before, oddly enough,
you wouldn't think it, but
actually, for people watching or listening, you are the rational one.
Rational, Rich is rational.
I know better. Before we get into Hogan, added on to the second or third mass release, there was also Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah, good point. We should
which goes right in line with the mass release of
that. That's confusing too, because they keep trying to, from what I've been reading and things like that and hearing, they're still trying to say, oh no, we're just restructuring and we'll be rebranding. We'll be back next year, and evidently they booked some venue next year.
March or something like that.
Yeah, so you saw that. So I don't know where it was or
I don't know, but I guess they're gonna do that event, but then nothing after that.
Right.
They said they're taking a year off.
Is it like one final event?
They said they're taking a year off and rebranding.
There's a lot of good dudes in Ring of Honor. Maybe, well, if I was fantasy booking, you take a couple of those guys and you put them in WWE and remake that whole roster.
But I mean, you could take the best wrestlers from around the world that everybody loves and put them in WWE, and there'll be nothing.
But people, the guys that are really good that won't get a job, probably from Ring of Honor at least, is probably the Briscoes.
I think they'll go to the AEW. I think that's the only other.
You know why? Because they've got pretty bad tweets from the past and stuff like that. And what we know about
love the Briscoes.
No, they're terrific.
Yeah, they are.
But what we know about Tony
I know what
Khan,
you're talking about. Yeah.
What we know about Tony Khan is he's not going to play that shit.
Right.
And I think that's a great PR move on Tony Khan, because who really wants that? No,
because
really
Tony Khan isn't running not even Impact, but any Ring of Honor level thing. He's right up there. He's trying anyway.
Impact would be the only place I could see Briscoes going.
Yeah.
Sadly, of a name.
Right.
Unless they went to Japan or whatever. They're also not that young anymore.
No.
So they could just hang it up.
Or just might work independent shows.
Are they one of the best unknown tag teams ever?
Yes.
A lot, nerds like us know them.
Yeah.
But mainstream does not know them, and it's sad.
They're
authentic.
But
is the word I think of when I think
because
of
their gimmick, especially now, would not get over.
No, but they were. It's funny because they're are they country? Are they kind of like thug hip hop? Because the way they talk, it would appear like they're rappers, but they're so backwoodsy.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
You know what I mean?
Missing teeth and everything.
You know what it is.
Rebel flag everywhere.
That gimmick for them is authentic, and it bleeds through the screen, and that's why
probably just as them outside of wrestling too.
Right. And I honestly makes them captivating.
Yeah, very few wrestlers are like this, but there's very few wrestlers that you look at them and who they are, and then they leave the arena and go home, and that's who exactly the Briscoes I could actually see.
You know why? That's why Daniel Bryan is one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah.
Or Bryan Danielson. He is what he says he is. He is, in fact, a good dude in real life. He is, vegan and all that shit that he says.
Right.
He really is authentic. And that's why I've become such a big fan of his. He always said what he was going to do. I'm going to leave. I'm going to still wrestle. I want to wrestle all these top guys. And then he even says the door is open for him to go back. Mm-hmm. And he'd still be the biggest name in the business. One of the biggest.
Yeah.
Punk's pretty authentic, except when he's getting knocked out in MMA.
Oh, it's authentic.
Yeah.
Talks a big game, but gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, true. True to self.
I like Punk's wrestling and whatnot, although lately it's just, but...
Well, yeah, but I think they're building that gimmick, like, does he have anything left? You notice, like, every match he has is a struggle almost. Right. Really? CM Punk is going to struggle with Evan Bourne? Stop. Stop, guys.
I did, when Punk went to UFC, kind of off track, but when Punk went to UFC, I wanted to see him succeed, because I wanted to see, not like... in
MMA
the way
fans eating crow a little bit?
A little bit.
Me too.
Because... MMA fans, in the same way wrestlers do this when they jump shit from, MMA fans like, here comes this fucking pussy in here.
Yeah, I always took umbrage with that.
Yeah,
personally.
Like Brock Lesnar, even you knew he was going to do good. I didn't know he was going to win the championship as quick as he did, but you knew he was legit and scary.
And he probably would have continued on without diverticulitis.
Oh, I think so. I think he would have got a good couple more years than he did.
Yeah, and he loved it. He loved that more than he loved.
I kind of wish that he went right to MMA right after NCAA.
He would have been one of the greatest that ever do it. And we would have got prime Brock versus prime. What's his name? Fedor.
Oh my God!
Could you imagine Prime versus Prime?
Oh.
That would have been a monstrous fight.
Oh my God, that would have been box office.
Rumble in the jungle kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But, I mean, he did awesome when he was there. But, yeah, I wanted to see CM Punk do well.
I didn't want to see him get, I guess I kind of did want to see him get a little comeuppance.
I did.
Well, I didn't like the way he left wrestling.
Yeah.
I understand why he did it.
Well, now, in retrospect, yeah.
It made him sick. I get, like, the adult reasons why he left. But you dicked out on fans that night that paid their ticket. And some of those people might have been coming from hours away, saved up all their money to have their kid see their favorite wrestler, and he said, "Nah, fuck that.
Yeah,
do your contract, work out your contract, dude." But I think I said that last podcast.
I didn't. I reiterate a lot of things, but I didn't want to see him. I didn't really care if he won or lost, but I wanted to see him do well.
And he really didn't.
He didn't. He didn't even show up. I think he forgot to train. It was just bad.
You would know better than me, but didn't one of his fights come back? Like as a draw or something like that, or a no contest because the other guy popped for performance enhancement.
I think it was the first one.
That's hilarious.
I think it was his first one.
So he's like 0-1-1 or something like that.
I was so good. And in 50 years, he'll tell his grandkids, it's like, well, I fought him to a draw in that match.
I will tell you this, though. I respect that he went and did it. Takes balls.
Hell yeah.
It does take balls.
Because
the training alone, not even the fight. The training to get to the fight is the hardest thing.
The fight, your max amount of time in a fight is 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, max. That's 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Normally, they, about 8-9 minutes. But the training that leads up to it is, forget pro wrestling training. That's running ropes, taking bumps, big deal. MMA.
If you've ever actually trained for like a full contact combat,
you're a wrestler, right?
Yeah, like actual.
Yeah. So
wrestling.
Anyone who's been a wrestler out there gets it.
I get it. Yeah.
If you've ever gone a full match and overtime, I remember the first time I did that, dude. I came off the mat and I laid on the ground and it was almost like a dark haze through my entire. I was just staring up at the lights.
The weirdest thing is you can't hear any of the crowd. It's just you on that mat and it's crazy.
It's different.
The training is the hardest part though.
Yes, the training, it's running, fun. I think it's the most fun. But the cardio training and endurance is crazy. Man. But I just loved rolling.
I was such an asshole because especially my senior year, I was like captain, so they wanted me to go through a lot of different weight classes. You could catch me in those early 2000s with a garbage bag on and a sweatshirt over that in a sauna. Yeah. And then the other kid I'd go with was also on the wrestling team, would wait outside. And we check on each other and take turns.
Right.
As stupid as that is, that's real.
One, I didn't have to do that because I wrestled the weight class above where I was.
I did that, but I also went down depending on where they wanted to insert me into the other team's lineup. Where they thought, I was decent, so they wanted to put me against someone decent.
There was a member of our team, though. He was one of the captains. He would do that constantly. He wrestled
It
189.
was terrible.
But he would be in the shower, in the showers of the locker room, all the showers on hot
Yeah.
with trash bag, black hoodie
I'd
and
go to the
sweatshirt,
Mohawk.
and he would just jump rope for the whole time. I was like,
Crazy.
glad I don't have to do that.
I think my senior year I went anywhere between 125 and 140.
I wrestled 140 normally.
Yeah.
I went up to 152.
135 was my normal weight class my senior year.
I did. I had to drop once to 137, which wasn't that bad. I think for 2 nights I ate tuna fish and water for dinner.
Right, and that's not even a big deal.
No,
Tuna
and
fish
then
is
and that's actually where I still do it from time to time. I'll take a can of tuna fish, open it up, drain it just with water, and just eat it right out of the can.
Yeah, I'll do that,
And
too.
Amanda's like, "That's fucking gross."
Nah, it's all right.
I'm used to it though. Like I did it a lot, so.
But
But
some hot sauce in there.
not even hot. I just eat it right out of the can like that.
Yeah, I don't mind it like that either.
No.
Boy, we're really going
Wait,
down.
well, going back to CM Punk, I wanted to see him do well, and he just got completely dominated.
Yeah, it was.
And he had what, 2 years to train, or at least a year?
It was
had
at
plenty of
least
time.
2, I thought.
When he announced it, it was at
like
least
16,
a year,
right? It was like 2016 when he announced it.
Something
then he
like
didn't
that.
really fight until like 18.
and he just got torched.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at least he went out there and did it.
Yeah,
Much more than all these assholes on their couches at home that never even did a combat sport. Fuck him. No,
and
eat
there's
potato chips.
you know how many times I've seen that, and I've wanted to respond, and I type out this elaborate response, and I just look at it.
What's
and I
the
go,
point?
I just delete the whole thing and just X out of the whole thing. Like,
It was
forget
cathartic typing it.
Yeah, like, I need to say this to myself, but forget it, because you're just gonna bounce it back. And it's like talking to a wall.
Random sidebar thought. I think one day.
This whole last 10 minutes.
I know. I think one day we should do a watch along show.
A commentary thing.
Just like watch along, talk about what we're watching.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess that's the definition of commentary. And okay, I guess I'll go fuck myself.
No, not a commentary. I mean, where we watch something and we
talk
comment
about
on it.
And
Yeah,
we comment on it. In depth.
Gotcha. All right.
But no, not like that. Like in depth. Commentary.
No, what do you not understand what I'm saying? Anyway, so
That was we really took a left turn on that Hulk Hogan segue.
Hogan's Lies.
Now this is before we get into it. This has been covered elsewhere, but it's our turn to talk
by
about
numerous
it because it's hilarious.
I just recently heard. I mean, for a long time, I think most wrestling fans have known that Hogan's
that he's so full of his own shit.
been a shithead. I think he's
not a good person.
I think he lies so much that he really believes his own bullshit.
A lot of people say that. A lot of
Andre was 650 pounds and I slammed him.
And that he was the first one to slam. No, you get the list. We'll go through it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that on the first one to slam him, but that even at a young age, I knew that. No, you weren't.
He said he was the first one to slam him. He himself slammed him 10 years prior.
Yeah, when he was a heel.
Yeah.
He was a heel and Andre was a face.
That wasn't the first time, bro.
I think it was out in outdoor arena.
It was an outdoor arena. I saw the clip.
The Yankee Stadium, something like that.
Yeah, but he himself did it, and he's like, the first time it ever was done was at WrestleMania. No, you did it too.
It's like I watched it over in Japan. He'd been slammed.
And then he was the only
by
one
people way smaller than Hogan.
The Ugandan Giant did it.
Kamala.
Yeah, he slammed Andre a couple times. It was like in Memphis or some shit. Like he was doing that all the time with Andre. Before Hogan.
Well, that was before McMahon built him to be this unstoppable thing.
Yeah.
Which really didn't come until after WrestleMania. Well, no, it was probably before WrestleMania 1. But when he turned heel, that's when Andre was like, nobody's touched this man. He hasn't lost in, what'd they say, 15 years?
Which it was not true. But,
yeah, that didn't happen.
But Andre, man, what a spectacle. One of the greatest ever.
All right. The first one, which I thought this was fantastic, only because I loved this company before they went under. He fought Pride fighters in the 70s. He fought Pride fighters in the 70s.
Let that sink in.
Mind you, Pride FC, which was the predecessor of UFC,
Yep.
wasn't founded until 1997. But he fought Pride fighters in the 70s.
I wonder how many of them he beat up. He must have beat up like Rampage Jackson in the 70s, when he was a child.
Yeah. Tito Ortiz kicking him around.
Also when he was a child.
I didn't even think he was in Pride, but I'm sure in Hogan's mind he beat up Tito. Oh, I beat CM Punk. I beat him up in 78.
Punk's like born in 70-something.
I would love to see CM Punk versus Hogan in his prime.
Oh my God, the promos that Punk would muster against him alone to just completely eviscerate him would be hilarious.
What do you think Punk would do? We're back on Punk here. What
I
do
know.
you think Punk would do? Like, what kind of promo would he cut in the 80s?
In the 80s?
It obviously wouldn't be what it is now because the whole
He'd be
dynamic
like
was
Piper.
different. You think he'd be like Piper?
He'd be like Piper. A little bit over the top, a little bit ridiculous, but cutting heel. Mm-hmm. He would be perfect.
Piper was awesome.
Not Mr. Perfect, he'd be Piper.
Oh, yeah. He'd be Piper Perfect.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect.
But that's kind of what I always would refer to him as if he was an 80s guy. Makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities, too, like the white T-shirts and the...
Oh, yeah, because, the white T-shirts, that was never around.
Never. It actually... Hulk Hogan told me white T-shirts didn't exist until he invented them.
Back before he wore the yellow.
Yeah.
I'm sick of white. I'm wearing yellow. It matches my skin tone better.
Which he likes.
Yeah, he was the first one to tan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you never know with Hogan.
Oh, I thought you meant his white skin tone because we also know Hogan only likes that.
You could make you know how they have Chuck Norris jokes. You could do the same thing with Hogan.
Only
just
like
on a
ridiculous.
completely scale.
Yeah.
When I go into a tanning booth, the tanning booth tans.
All right, what do you got on there?
He was an all-star high school pitcher, and he was scouted by the Yanks and the Reds.
I've heard that one. The Yanks there. I didn't know about the Reds.
Yeah, the Yankees and the
But
Reds.
something about he blew his arm out, right? Or was that like...
It was something. He blew something out. There's always something he blew out or he was out.
He blew it out of his ass for that one.
Yeah. There's a few that are kind of in line with each other, but the Rolling Stones wanted him in their band.
That's right, because he was like a guitarist, right? A bass player?
Yeah, bass player.
He was a bass player?
Bass player. Probably, and now bass players are going to hate me for this, but with a few exceptions, probably the easiest player to replace in a band because most of them just follow the
rhythm,
yeah. But I mean, there's bass players like Flea and Tosin Abasi, who I think he's an 8-string guitar player, but he plays that guitar and bass on one. He's fucking. Do yourself a favor if you love music, you love heavy music, just music in general. Watch Tosin Abasi. Wow.
There's him, there's Flea, and now Hulk Hogan is the greatest bass player of all
Hogan
time.
probably tops that list.
Obviously.
I've heard him a couple times.
There's literally no doubt in my mind.
He played with the Stones. They were trying to suck his dick during it, and he was like, guys, come on, we got to be serious here.
I heard that they all did at the same time.
They probably did, and it was crazy.
The brothering.
It was fun.
They call that the brothering.
Lars Ulrich
Oh, no.
asked him to play bass for Metallica before he wrestled in 1977.
Oh, God.
Metallica was formed in 1981.
I mean, just sit and digest that one. What makes this guy come up with all this nonsense?
Especially now because we have the internet and you can
Yeah,
just easily. You don't have to be a metal fan, Metallica fan. If you don't know, you can just easily search it.
And most of the things that he says are more recent too. Like he wasn't saying this shit in the 80s.
No, this wasn't the 80s and 90s. This was way after
Post 2000.
the internet was a thing.
Yeah, we can look at this, bro.
And especially now with smartphones, oh yeah, Metallica asked me to play for them in '77. Like,
They were formed in. I'll buy it.
he was offered the lead in the movie 2008, The Wrestler.
That would have been tremendous. Him working in a deli, getting blood on him and going, brother.
You
You want your cheese, brother?
Could we shoot this scene where I slam my thumb into the meat cutter, but the meat cutter breaks because my thumb is so strong?
Brother.
And then, I guess we could have some blood come out. But I think that would really make it because I really put my hand in there, brother.
God, that would have been so bad. It would have been so bad.
That movie, again, if you haven't seen The Wrestler.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
I was going to say you don't have to be a wrestling fan, but
You don't.
I think you do to really appreciate it.
I can tell you that I put on a few people to that movie that weren't.
Oh, yeah?
Namely, like my sister specifically. More people than that, but they all unanimously agree.
It's a sad movie. It's fantastic, but it's a sad movie.
Darren Aronofsky or whatever, the director, he makes great movies. He always has.
It's a story of really Jake the Snake, and there's someone else.
Scott
Hall. You could throw
a lot of
there.
elements of that. But what happens when the fans aren't there for you anymore, kind of thing.
The whole daughter thing, like the aspect in that, and like the
fall.
fall,
Jake the Snake.
like I just saw parallels of Jake the Snake story.
But the character itself was kind of like Hogan-esque. Like he was
the
biggest deal. They even mirrored the whole like rivalry with the guy in the movie.
He was supposed to be Iron Sheik-ish.
Yes. Yeah. Necro Butcher, my man Tyler.
Yeah, he was
probably
in there.
a big fan of him.
I'm a big fan of Necro Butcher. We actually, years ago, or one of the early episodes of the podcast, we were talking about our favorite deathmatch wrestlers, and Ty's is obviously Nick Gage.
Yeah.
And I told him,
Murder, Death, Kill Gang.
Mine is Necro Butcher. I love Necro Butcher. But yeah, I saw
what my favorite is of all time. I mean, I guess
Tanaka.
Foley,
yeah.
Foley probably for me, but Masato Tanaka is a good one for me.
I would put.
Funk.
Terry Funk before Mick Foley.
Funk might be my favorite.
Foley would be better in the sense that he took that craft and brought it to the mainstream.
I respect what the new guys are doing. I just, I don't like seeing people die or anything like that. Like, I don't
they're going on such crazy.
That's what happens. Anyone really die, dude.
See, that's the problem. That's the one problem with deathmatch wrestling is. In regular wrestling, you can pull tables out and stuff and maybe stack them like the Dudleys and Hardys and them did. But in deathmatch wrestling, it's a quick burn. Like the whole genre itself, it goes crazier and just rolls crazier and crazier and crazier.
New ideas to make it even worse. I'm like,
but there's got to be a top somewhere, unless they're actually going to say, "Listen, I'm going to sign this, and you're going to kill me." Like, where he got to stop somewhere here.
Well, we'll have to get Ty to report this to us if someone dies when he's out there watching.
Oh, he'll let us know. He'll probably put it in the chat.
My man. My man.
I was there.
And I also want a live picture of the dead body.
He has a 10-inch penis.
I like the way you said that. Just the way you said it. I don't think we need to really perseverate on that one. Moving on.
No, we have to. Listen.
Let's talk about his huge dong.
Maybe it is. There was that one. What was the Bubba the Love Sponge video there?
Yeah. Well, did you watch it?
I saw.
I actually never watched
the whole thing. No. I saw. What? There was a clip of it on maybe TMZ. I wouldn't be surprised if it was TMZ. Of him talking during it, and it was. I think it was like Night Vision or something like that. It was like a short 3 or 4 second clip. I haven't seen the actual video. I don't really want to. As big as a Hogan fan as I was in the 90s.
Is there a bigger piece of shit than Bubba the Love Sponge? Except maybe Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, I do.
like those are two people that deserved each other back then.
Yeah, Yep, here. He was the first to slam Andre. I have that as the next point.
Yeah, we covered that.
Slash Andre weighed 600 plus pounds. Which he did. I think Andre's actual weight was like more 480 something, but toward
even then at that time.
Toward the in WrestleMania 3, I think he was actually around 520 or 530. They built him at like 540 pounds. Toward the end of his life, I've heard 560. I've heard 600.
It's probably more likely that he was that towards the end of his life when he was out of wrestling. I think they actually did address that in one of his documentaries.
Yeah,
too.
Where he was way up in weight.
The guys that can't control their weight like that, usually towards the end of their death is what they're heaviest. You remember the rapper Big Pun?
No.
I don't want to be a player no more. That song?
No.
Well, it was a huge hit in the 90s. He was a big guy, very heavy. And he passed away. He was always about 400 pounds.
Oh.
When he died, he was like 670.
Yeah. It was,
from his heart 3 times the size.
From
just couldn't stop eating.
Oh, so
And then when you get famous,
like Andre was his pituitary gland.
oh yeah,
And he just couldn't move.
I can't believe you don't
anymore.
remember Big Pun. What is wrong with you?
I didn't listen to rap. I think the most rap I listened to in the 90s was Crisscross. That was like the early 90s. Like that was
Man, you wiggity whack.
yeah, I'm wiggity white too, so I didn't fucking listen. I was in upstate New York. Like we had Crisscross and
Why are they making jump?
Coolio.
Coolio was good.
They wore their clothes backwards.
He was 90s good. Didn't one of those guys die, Crisscross?
Probably.
I think one of them died.
Milli Vanilli.
It wasn't rap.
Whatever.
Fuck out of here.
Is that racist? Maybe, I don't know.
Blame it on the rain. I don't know.
When he slammed Andre, he tore 18 muscles in his back. Probably the same as when Undertaker... Oh, right here, actually. The Undertaker tombstone botch.
Oh, that's...
Right along the same lines as 18 muscle tear, and the Undertaker tombstone dropped him on his head.
And I think we talked about that one before.
I don't know.
But maybe in a previous show. Excuse all the coughing.
He's sick.
Coffin. Get it? Undertaker. So, I love that story, especially when Undertaker goes back and tells it. Because, he was still young and up and coming and, young enough and young in WWF.
It must have been...
It was his big break.
It was his first year, I think. It was within the first year at most, like he was there a year.
And they were giving him the belt because he was mega over already.
I think it was, because that was around the King of the Ring that year, wasn't it?
It probably was, and he came in and
no, King of the Ring. What was the first... King of the Ring was 93, that was the first year of the King of the Ring. Or 92 or 93. So no, it was before that. It must have been sometime after, right before WrestleMania. So it was in the first year of him being there.
So as the story goes, all leading up to the event, the entire day, Hogan keeps coming to him in the locker room. You got to protect me, brother. You got to make sure you protect me. Got to protect me, brother. Like really setting his stage very well.
Or make him nervous.
Yeah, and Undertaker was young, gigantic, and very strong.
Yeah.
He's like, I got you. It's not going to be a big deal. But he kept going on. Every time you see him, got to protect the neck, brother. Got to protect it. So I guess as the match goes on, we know that in the end he does do the tombstone. He wins the belt.
The most ginger, soft,
his head doesn't even hit the mat. I've watched
protected tombstone in the I've ever seen.
And it was back in the day when he was strong enough, Undertaker, where he used to get the arm on the inside from the shoulder and then hold around the waist this way. So he was basically on his shoulder.
Yeah.
His head doesn't even come close to the mat.
He's and
the chair, right? Because there was a chair there.
Hogan's quads are, if you don't know what the tombstone is, just look that up. Otherwise, you're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. Hogan's
and also,
quads.
We do wrestling podcasts here, so if you're listening to us, come on. What the fuck's wrong with you?
His upper legs, his quads are resting over the Undertaker's shoulder. And he has one arm under Hogan's shoulder, hoisting him up and then holding him over like a sack of potatoes. And he drops him. Even with all of that, he's still... like, without exaggeration, a good
6 inches,
4 or 5 inches above the mat. And then, go ahead, tell the rest.
So, this is the best part of the story. Match ends, then they go back, from what I remember from hearing how Undertaker puts it, he goes back there and Hogan is literally laying in gorilla, I believe.
Which, if you don't
moaning about, go ahead.
If you don't know, in wrestling terminology, the gorilla position was from the old wrestler Gorilla Monsoon, commentator, and
behind the curtain right before you.
Yeah, it was behind the curtain right before you go out to the arena.
He's moaning about his neck. He got me. I told him to protect me. And I think that the school of thought here is believed to be that because Hogan never wanted to drop the title. Ever. No. Like he was such a
and if he did, it was like a transition to himself.
Right.
He could get it right back.
He was trying to bury the young guy.
Yeah.
Because he knew this was going to be a major threat to him.
Because I guess, according to Sid Vicious, he was, when Sid came in...
real nice with the scissors.
With a couple...
Sorry.
With...
He's my favorite deathmatch wrestler.
When Sid came in, Sid said... during the WrestleMania 8 there, that was the year after I think Undertaker came in. Sid was getting more cheers than Hogan was, and Hogan was pissed about that.
Yeah.
So Hogan right there, like, He didn't, like you said, he didn't want.
That wasn't
He
even
would
during
try to
softball
bury.
season.
No.
See, now if you're a big wrestling fan, you'll get all of these jokes.
Hogan, Hogan did not want the younger guy to go over, or anybody. It doesn't even have to be younger. Just anybody.
Well, I mean, that was the whole
him.
thing with Bret Hart, with Mr. Perfect, all these guys.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even work with them.
No. But if someone comes in like Undertaker's another one, like Sid, he's got the look, especially dressed as the Undertaker. He's got the look. Sid had the just natural look.
He was just a specimen.
He was huge. He was bigger, stronger than Hogan. He was
just a monster.
Yeah, he was a massive beast.
Especially then, in the early 90s. Jeez.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Coming out
he
of
was
WCW, just like juiced to the gills. I loved it.
Even back then, I was like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, so did I.
Who is this guy?
Even when he came back as Psycho Sid, I loved him.
Even better, I thought.
Although I was pretty upset when, he turned on my man HBK, but whatever, we won't talk about that. Still hurt by that. Shout out to my man Big Daddy Cool for coming and getting him.
I think that was actually one of the very few good stories back in that era.
Yeah, that was a great story. I loved it.
Anyway, going back to The Undertaker, yeah, he was going to be something big. You could tell.
And Hogan wanted to squash that.
Yeah.
As much as he could.
So Hogan, air quotes, injured himself. Or, I mean, Undertaker, air quotes, injured Hogan. So Hogan was selling it like he just got shot by Alec Baldwin on the set of a movie or something.
Ooh, too soon.
Nonsense. I should have said that yesterday.
You should have said that a week ago when it happened.
So, yeah, Hogan's laying there and he's rolling about. I'm stealing the story from you. Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's basically it.
Yeah, that is.
But then he confronted him and then he backpedaled. Of course he did, because that's
yeah, because
Hogan.
Hogan said something. It was like a few days later, a week later.
Yeah,
like,
it was
he's fine.
They flew to the next town.
Did you hear? Oh, it's still kind of stiff, brother.
Yeah,
something like that. I like how we say brother after everything.
You got it.
Just so everyone knows who's talking during the story.
It was like the next town or something like that that they had to go make.
It's so like Hogan forgets his own bullshit.
Like immediately. You're a soda drinker, by the way, now?
Ginger ale.
I don't know you as a soda drinker.
Every now and again, like I like ginger ales.
Good for you. What's on the next on the list? So unnecessary, like footnotes.
Hogan's. Let's see if I wrote all this down right. All right. Hogan's Make-A-Wish song, "Hulkster in Heaven." All right, he has a Make-A-Wish song called "The Hulkster in Heaven." It was written about a child with cancer. As the story goes, Hogan gave tickets to this kid that was in a crowd. He was a Make-A-Wish kid, and he gave him tickets to go to SummerSlam '92 in Wembley. And he said, "I'll be there, brother. Just go."
Was never booked for the show.
You go to SummerSlam '92, and he said, Hogan went out for his match, and he said, "I looked out in the crowd, and there was an empty seat there." And turns out the kid had died before he could make it to the show. He wasn't even
booked on the show.
The kid had died before he could make it to the show. And he found out after his match at SummerSlam
'92.
And he said he was inspired to write the lyrics to Hulkster in Heaven. Hogan was never booked in SummerSlam '92.
Wasn't he not even in the
Hogan wasn't even in fucking England in SummerSlam of '92.
To keep in mind, that's one of the greatest main events in SummerSlam history.
Yes, because that is the reason that was the main event. Because there was no reason for Hogan to be there. He didn't defend the title, so he didn't go to SummerSlam '92. He was still in the States.
Unbelievable. that might be my favorite one. It's one of the,
because it's so over the top
and it's so stupid, and it's so like almost like he's trying to make himself like seem like an angel, yet. But dude, you weren't even fucking there.
I mean, that is for a lot of the other lies. For all the Rolling Stones wanting me to be in the band, the Metallica. There's a lot of those where you have to be a big music fan, more or less, to know different dates of different bands.
You can slide by if you're a wrestling fan who doesn't listen to music.
This is the biggest promotion ever in wrestling. One of their biggest shows ever.
Second biggest show of the year. And ever, too.
Yeah, one of the most popular main events. I mean, you're not going to know that at that time. But
looking back, it's still one of... It's among my top 5 favorite matches still.
Yeah. And he says he was there at a fucking main event. And to wrestling fans, he's saying this. And wrestling fans are notorious for knowing dates and matches and who was booked, who went over.
Who was on the card?
Yes.
Who went over?
Who the fuck do you think you're pulling this up? Like, what?
Hey, but you know what? Rest in peace to the Hulkster in heaven. Shout out to my guy.
Oh, boy.
That's a great one. Oh, no, I know my favorite one. I don't think you even said it yet, but go ahead.
Mike Tyson chickened out when he was challenged by Hogan to a match.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I love Mike Tyson. Now, it's like humble Iron Mike Tyson.
I like him now, though, because you still see that like,
he still
fire
has
in his
hunger.
eyes.
You see when he was training for...
yeah, I was like, oh, Jesus, he still might have it.
Still, it was a beat. Like, and then he was vaguely talking about maybe going after Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got that anymore, though.
Yeah, Tyson Fury.
Because
something
when you
else.
saw him against
Tyson,
Roy Jones, that fight, that whole like exhibition,
yeah,
you saw Tyson looked older.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So him and Fury, yeah, he doesn't want none of that. Fury is every bit of a perfectionist, as they say.
Fury looks like a tub of lard, but he
is,
knows how to fucking fight.
I was a huge boxing enthusiast throughout the 90s. Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight since the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, you had Klitschko's. Klitschko
right,
was great, but I think that Fury might.
You know, like Lennox Lewis, though? Because that was in the 2000s. That was early 2000s.
He was also in the 90s, don't forget.
Yeah.
Remember Lennox Lewis? Was
All right.
he at WrestleMania or something like that?
Was he?
Yeah. He was like...
Is that one of the later ones?
No, an early one.
Really?
Lennox Lewis is older.
I know he's older, but...
He had that rivalry with Holyfield in the 90s.
Yeah, but I didn't know he was at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, he was. It would make, or SummerSlam or something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember that. But yeah, Tyson... Same thing. Like, I love Mike Tyson.
Just as an escort, by the way. It wasn't like he wrestled.
Oh.
He appeared, I should say. Yeah. Hey, Lennox.
Who's out? As much as I love Mike Tyson, I know, even as a super fan of Tyson, I was like, nah, no, you don't, don't do that to your legacy, and please don't do that to me.
And I mean, he wouldn't even be able to stand in there right now with Wilder.
All right,
and Wilder's a monster himself.
I would love to. This is another one of those like Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds things. Like I would love to take Mike Tyson, 1988, 1986. And place him in any time frame.
And see what he does.
Yeah.
Well, he would have definitely dominated the 2000s, before Prison Tyson. Man, he would have dominated. Christ.
There's one thing...
You know what he said about Ali, though?
Yeah, he said Ali would have won.
Would have washed him. And he was very respectful about it, because that was his hero.
And, I have to say, you watch Tyson's fights, like really his first 20-some fights, professional fights. And
knockouts.
Like all in the first round.
Yeah, because no one wanted that uppercut.
No,
that short
and Tyson's
change.
Tyson's approach was square up.
Yeah,
he wasn't south or
he came
right-handed.
Right at you and he kept it close.
He would square up and he would step half half shuffle, half shuffle, and you didn't know what was coming from where, so you just find yourself. If you walk into it, you're walking into a fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
And if you back up, he's just going to hit you and you're going to stumble back. And then he's going to hit you again.
God, I miss that shit, man. I miss boxing in the late 80s and throughout the 90s.
But there was something that, if you watch his fights progress throughout the years, when he was starting, when he started meeting people that could go the distance with him, that was Tyson's weakness. Especially after Customato.
And that's why you saw him get frustrated with Holyfield. Because Holyfield was always going to outwork you.
Holyfield could take abuse and keep going and going and going and going.
He still is my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
He was a warrior, man. I think that was his moniker. He was just a warrior who will outwork you. He might not be a better skill fighter, but he's going to outwork you in the gym.
Right.
He was a beast in his own right.
Like I like Tyson's
he had like 4 or 5 titles to his name.
Holyfield?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyson was one of those boxers or fighters, like video game term. You put all the attributes
power.
like 10 in power and like
and maybe a little bit in speed.
10 in power, like maybe 6, 7 in speed, and then like 3 in stamina.
Yeah. You just want to go in there and knock people out.
If I can get through the first inning,
Speaking
round.
of that, best video game boxing for me ever, was the Real Deal Holyfield game.
Sega?
When you could make a character. I was so into it that I would make a character, and then I would make his son after that career was over. And then I think I had like a Malik Shabazz the third. I think that's what I named him.
I actually on my emulator I play that still.
It's a great game.
The one boxing game I say
The training
will yeah
in the gym.
The boxing game I say will rival that is Knockout Kings 2000 and Nintendo 64.
I lied. The best boxing game ever is Punch Out, but whatever.
I didn't really like Punch Out. Even Super Punch Out.
Get out. Get out of your house.
Not my show anymore.
Let's talk about Punch Out. I beat both Mike Tyson and Mr. Dream. But you know who could beat Tyson?
Oh.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he chickened out. Well, we won't know. We won't know how bad he was.
Tyson, what
anyway.
a pussy.
I
Just
know,
don't tell him I
seriously.
said that.
Yeah, we. The Hogan George Foreman grill debacle.
Yeah, that one's hilarious. Because he didn't answer his phone.
Yeah, well, I've heard that, and I've heard he was out grocery shopping or something like that.
Yeah, you didn't get the call.
The whole story goes that Hogan was originally supposed to get this deal for the George Foreman grill. The reason that he didn't get it was because either he missed the phone call or he was out grocery shopping. So either way, he missed the phone call. I think that was Hogan's. That was one of Hogan's stories. I think that's actually one where I've heard two versions from Hogan. He was grocery shopping or he was out. I don't want to say tanning salon being like.
I definitely heard the grocery store one.
I think I remember that one specifically. He was
That
grocery
would be
shopping, so he missed the phone call.
Of all of this absurdity, that might be the one that I could venture a guess to believe.
We'll go conspiracy theorist here and say, yeah, that's probably the closest to reality.
Because he was such a mega star.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Bigger than George Foreman, I think.
At that time, certainly. Because what was that, like late 90s?
Early 80s.
Oh.
The George Foreman grill.
Oh, it's really
I
that
think that
old?
was like... I think the George Foreman grill was like 94, 95 maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I mean. The grill itself was like somewhere in the late, mid-90s, right?
Yeah, right. Somewhere
At that time, certainly Hogan was
oh, yeah.
a bigger... Although Foreman did come back and win the title.
Yeah.
Which was fucking absurd because he was like 48 at the time.
Right.
But anyway, I digress.
The next one, I think this is your favorite. Maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah,
Hogan's 400-day year schedule. Okay, wait.
That's my favorite one.
Hogan's 400-day a year schedule.
You know
I'll let you explain that one because
you know those time zones, brother. Because he was going to Japan so much, he claimed that because of the changing of the time zones, he worked a 400-day schedule. Literally, that's not how that works. I don't know what to say other than I love that one the most.
I will say this. Hogan was a hard worker back then because they did what, sometimes two shows at night back in the early days of wrestling.
Of course, you can't take anything away from their work ethics.
Yeah, so maybe that. I mean, reading some of these other lies Hogan facts. Maybe it was like he actually thought. I can't even.
You're really trying very hard to justify
I'm trying to justify it,
and
but
I'm loving that you're walking down dead alleys every time.
This is no, I got nothing.
Yeah, no,
I can't even pretend.
But that might be my favorite one. I think we
pretend.
talked about that one. I brought that one up before. I love that one.
This one, this is the last one I have here. This one is another special one. It's just a simple, if you don't know dates, just a simple quick search. Elvis was a Hulkamaniac.
I should leave on that one.
Elvis was a Hulkamaniac. Now, Hulkamania didn't start until, January 29th of 1984 or 28th, 27th, something like that. That's when he won the title from Iron Sheik.
Of course. It makes sense that he was. That's probably why he wrote the song Hulka Hulka Burning Love.
Right, yeah.
Right? It makes sense.
Of course.
I knew it.
Or no, maybe it was whatever. Elvis died in 1977. All right.
Before Hulkamania existed?
Well before Hulkamania existed. Hulk Hogan didn't start wrestling until 1977.
He was a fan.
So we
We got a whole episode out of this. That's great.
there's
There's probably so much more too.
there's a whole bunch more. Did you watch? Has there been a new Dark Side of the Ring since the whole the
I fell off. I'm sad to say that I haven't watched a lot of the second half of the third season. There's a lot of good topics. Canyon was the last one I saw.
I didn't see anything since the plane ride from hell.
Oh yeah, there's I think that was the half season debut was the
Yeah.
It was either that or that was I can't remember, but there was a Canyon episode. There's a Bruiser Bedlam.
Chris Canyon?
Yeah,
Right.
there's a Bruiser Bedlam one. He was a maniac. He blew up a police station.
What?
Yeah, that's the
I gotta
episode
watch
I haven't
this one.
seen yet, and I'm dying to see it. He was a guy that was in like whatever the Cornet promotion was. I can't think of the name of it offhand. In the '90s with like the
Memphis?
Yeah, it was in probably Memphis with when he was a manager of the Express and all, or not the Express, the Midnight.
Right. He was big in the NWA, but I know what you're talking about. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it was
the NWA.
But I guess but Bruiser Bedlam was a big deal in that promotion. He was like their main heel.
Yeah.
But I guess a sweetheart of a guy in real life, but living a double life of, blowing up police stations and being a complete like maniac.
Oh, Superfly.
Shit. Shit.
It's a double life. Actually, I think most pro wrestlers.
So I assume we're pretty much ending this episode, so I want to leave you on a final note. I lied about my favorite deathmatch wrestler. It's actually Chris Benoit.
That took like
Good
a
night,
second.
Wisconsin.
It took like a second to get. Wow, I'm slow.